Okay, so if you see, folks, the newspaper of the day, two, three important news. First, I'm not sure whether you're aware of this particular personality, Sitaram Yechuri. He was basically a face of the communist and the CPIM. He was the general secretary and a major leader from the left, and he died yesterday. So there are a lot of articles which are eulogy for his contribution in politics and student politics and nation building, consensus building. So he was not seen as someone as a hardliner. Usually you will find people in left who are men of or people of very strong principles and very in terms of hardliners, that they will not budge with their what their philosophy is. He was someone who was willing to cross that barrier and build those coalition. So he's kind of a coalition man and a consensus man from the side of from the left. Just like you had someone like Pranab Mukherjee in Congress, he was from the left. So and he was the president of JNU for 3 years. And he entered the life of politics quite early. So these are things that you should be aware about in national relevance, that this is who this person was. Then the next article is Jaishankar, 75% of disengagement problems with China sorted out. Now we've had I told you that we have this something called as WACC with China, so which is basically for border consultation. So you should be aware about what this WACC is and what is happening there. But at the same point of time, what is being told is that 75% of the disengagement problem with China has already happened. But what are the still what are the friction points? Especially if you really want to write a good article, you should somewhat draw a diagram of the Ladakh portion and see that these are the three friction points or the four friction points which are still problematic. So you should know what are the still friction points that are there. But most of them now are being solved, and this is where the speech from Jaishankar was there, the honorable minister, and he's standing at the replica of the east gate of Sanchi Stupa. Now Sanchi, read about what Sanchi Stupa is, and from your art and culture anyways, you should know about stupas, how they are related to the Buddhist religion. And stupas are typically formed wherever you have Lord Buddha's relics. Over above that you have the you have the this thing the stupa. Now what are these four gates of Sanchi Stupa? Why is the eastern gate of Sanchi Stupa so famous? And also read about why is Sanchi Stupa so magnificent. There are other stupas as well, but Sanchi Stupa is supposed to be the one of the most magnificent pieces of architecture. So all of that is there on the explain page. That is an article that you need to read. But this is with respect to this. Then again, political news, you want to read it or not, it's up to you. Putin proposes bilateral with Modi during the BRICS summit October 22, so you can read on that. Allegation of crime, no ground for demolition for property, Supreme Court. Just in case if you get time, you can read this article, because anyways Supreme Court was hearing those petitions with respect to the demolition of houses. Then okay, this is around Sitaram. This is one article that we are going to cover, folks. Let me just come to it. Right. Yes. Now coming to food inflation. Now this is something which is important from most for most of you, from an economics optional point of view as well. Now, the retail inflation has come down, folks. Now, the retail inflation has come down to 3.65%, which is basically below the 4% mark that the RBI set as median. So we have this flexible inflation targeting. The flexible inflation targeting that we have has the mark between 2 to 6%, and the median being 4%. Now we have less than 4% as our inflation rate, but still, if we see the combined food price index, so within the CPI index, you have the combined food price index, which has 40% weightage of the CPI. So remember, combined food price index is a sub part of the CPI, which only talks about food items, and that has a weightage of 40% within the CPI, and that has basically it is increased from 5.42% in July to 5.66% in August, and that is where basically there is some amount of increase in inflation that you might have seen that last month. It was 3.60 in July, and this month it is in August, it is 3.65. But at the same point of time, the inflation rates are quite managed right now, because we've had adequate rainfall, and the supply chains have worked out. And but at the same point of time, you should also be aware of the fact that a lesser amount of inflation, a very low amount of inflation also shows lack of demand in the economy. So these are all conditions which are basically moving forward towards RBI reducing the repo rate, and reducing the policy rate. So RBI had kept it quite high, since the inflation in the previous few months, last year was quite high. So therefore, the inflation, the repo rates were not changed, and were kept around 6.5%. But now we are going to reduce the repo rate, perhaps because of the fact that we are seeing sustainable fall in prices, and even the food prices have actually dialed down. But at the same point of time, if you see inflation rates, the cereals, eggs, pulses, fruits had inflation rate above 6%, and you had pulses and vegetables which still had recorded double digit inflation rates. So these are the problematic items within the inflation basket. At the same point of time, if you see, the IIP data had also released, and the IIP data is basically showing you a fall in output. So this is a fall in is a concern. So if you see India's factory output measured by IIP data, it rose to 4.8% from a 5-month low of 4.7%. So sorry, there is a rise in factory output in July, but at the same point of time, the output is not that also great, because we are saying, on one hand we are saying that we are growing by 7%, 8%, but your factory output is only growing by 4% or 4.2%. So this is basically a cause of concern. If you see something in July 2023, the factory output was growing at 6.2%. So this is the factory output data. You should also be knowing the constituents of factory output, that what are the constituents, how much weight is the fuel basket taking, what is the weightage of electricity, and what is the weightage of manufacturing items. Manufacturing accounts for around 77% of the IIP. So read about this. Then within this there is nothing more to be added now. This is the article that we had talked about Sitaram Yechuri. It's a political article. If you want to read it, you can read it. Now the two articles that we are going to cover is on Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Now you should be aware about, see, when you are preparing for prelims next year, you should be aware about all the major government schemes. And this is a typical scheme where on the health sector, and this is a scheme which is the centrally sponsored scheme. So whereby you have the states also participating and giving 40% of the money, and the center gives 60% of the money. So first thing, this you should know. Then this is in the health area and providing health insurance and kind of a health insurance to everyone who is eligible. Now what the government has done is, the government has said that now, irrespective of your family income, irrespective of the fact that whether your family is low income, high income, or your resources, everyone who is above the age of 70 years will get a coverage of 5 lakh rupees annual health coverage, and it will benefit around 6 crore people, roughly 5% of the population. And this is very important because you actually need a lot of healthcare needs when you are at this age group. And what we are seeing is that the average age of the average age in India is increasing because of the medical advancements, and therefore all these people need a lot of medical care. And the government has had made this promise of basically increasing the coverage, and it covers a number of ailments. We'll talk about all of that. And what it does is that it reduces the out of pocket expenditure. Now, out of pocket expenditure earlier was somewhere around 70%. Now, what does that mean? That if you are spending, if there is a at your house, if you are spending 100 rupees on healthcare, 70 rupees are coming from your pocket and 30 rupees is coming from the government's pocket. Now, with the implementation of Pradhan Mantri, the Jan Arogya Yojana under Ayushman Bharat. Now, this is all under Ayushman Bharat, folks. So under Ayushman Bharat, what has happened is that the out of pocket expenditure has actually reduced to somewhere around 50%. So this has been a major achievement of this particular government. But at the same point of time, last year also we saw an incident at Safdarjung hospital, whereby doctors were duping patients and saying that your whatever you are suffering from is not being covered under Ayushman Bharat. And they're also basically saying that the cover is not sufficient, and the kind of medicines and the kind of things that you need are not covered under Ayushman Bharat. So people are typically in India, people are typically not that educated, and therefore despite the coverage being there, we saw that doctors are basically and hospitals are officials at times are conniving and exploiting these people who are at this desperate stage of their lives. So this is where this is very important. And in fact, there was this Niti Aayog paper which was released in this January, which talked about that families are becoming nuclear, and ease of access of quality and quality of healthcare is going to be very important. But at the same point of time, what is also important is that there should be someone for hand holding of these people. It is the work should not stop that. There is a counter at the hospital which registers your claim. What is actually needed is hand holding, and you should have counselors. So you should have Arogya Mitras, which counsel the parent, which the counsel the relatives of the patients, and not just ends with registering of claims. So this is something you need a behavioral. So if you want to write something improve in terms of improvement, this is something that needs to be done, and overburdening of government staff should not be done in terms of the paperwork that is there. So you should have it in somewhat. You should have kind of a DBT or some kind of India stack built over it, something like your UPI. So that their ease of paperwork is there, and you can easily get everything on your account, or transfer. The government can directly transfer the money to the hospital. So this is another development that is there. And then you have an article on all the darkness that we unsee. Now this is an article. I mean we have read about this particular issue so many times, that what is happening in Manipur. But at the same point of time, again, reading this article shows you that there is there is a lot of political problem that is going on in Manipur, because there has been demand by the chief minister of the sitting state, which is of the same party, that the unified command be given back to CM. Now think of a state where you are saying that the chief minister does not have control over the affairs of the state, and the chief minister is also not being consulted for major things. So isn't that a condition of president's rule? So what this article is basically saying is that the conditions that are there, if it had been any other state, it would have been president's rule. But the fact that it is being ruled by the same party, so there is an unsaid president rule in Manipur. But at the same point of time, that even that unsaid president's rule is not able to solve the problem for the last 17 months, especially after the last few months there's been no solution. And the civil society is further divided. There is no end to the zero some conflict that is there. And at the same point of time, what is the strategy, the long term strategy is nowhere seen, that how does the government want to resolve this issue, that is completely not seen in this entire approach. So this article basically talks about the fact that you already have implementation of 356 in a different way, article 356 in a different way. But at the same point of time, there is no end to this problem the way that the present government is trying to solve it. So you can read about this article. Then this is the interesting part of the newspaper, where there is a debate, and these are typical debates that one needs to answer during your interviews. But at the same point of time, you can pose these questions. So do not never take sides in when you're talking about ethics and morality. So you can yourself put a question when you are writing answers, and don't answer those questions. For example, the you might have seen yesterday in the newspaper, if you've seen yesterday's newspaper, on the front page you saw a photograph of the honorable prime minister with the chief justice of the country, and doing your Ganesh Chaturthi puja. Now this brings a major question, that first, why did a sitting CGI invite the prime minister to his home? This was the first time that we saw something like that. So why were other constitutional dignitaries, basically the appointee of the chief justice of India has to be the president, so why was not the head of the state not called? Why were other brother judges not called? So this basically is one of the issues. Then the other is that it is too close to the Maharashtra issue of disqualification of this thing, the MLAs. So that is another issue. So will it bring some kind of partisan view or not? Then another issue that comes up in this is that religion and faith are private, are basically private things in India. Now, if they are private, then it's all right that if you had called the constitutional dignitary to your home, then why to display the colors of faith and religion there? So will that bring some kind of doubt in the mind of the petitioner when he is not from the same religion? So something like this should be there. And the last point is, even if it is a private concern, why to put photographs of this particular issue on social media? So these are the issues which Indra Jaisingh has raised, and these are all valid questions that people might have with respect to this. So read about this, and it has a lot of this thing, and it ends well as well. It ends with a quote of Shakespeare which says, "O judgment, thou art fled to brutish beast, and men have lost their reason." So basically, it is saying that judgment, has now gone to these brutish beasts, and men have lost their ability to reason and judge. So a wonderful article. Remember this quote. You can probably write it when you are writing something on this. And the opposite is basically being talked about, and it's also very convincing. Is written by Bhupender Yadav, who is also a cabinet minister in the present government, and he basically says that see, if there was any sinister plan, then this photograph would not have been made public, and both the executive and the judiciary have the joint mission of taking India forward. Both are on the same side. At the same point of time, he also says that there is no issue on these traditions of greeting each other and meeting each other. For example, he said that now the jurist Fali Nariman used to sit with the Chief Justice of Bombay High Court and the Chief Minister Morarji Desai once a month to discuss any issues that they might have had. So you have these meetings, and I mean, this kind of informal meeting also helps in ironing out the issues between the judiciary and the executive as well. But at the same point of time, my personal opinion is that if there are such meetings, they should be pre-planned and there should be more participation. It should not be just two people. If you're meeting, they probably have two or three ministers, the head of the state, and then you should probably have at least the collegium available, the next three sitting chief justices. So all of this should be in a broad manner. Even for example, the article says that even CGI Balakrishnan attended the iftar party of the former prime minister. But iftar party doesn't only have two dignitaries; it has almost the entire cabinet there, and all most of the members of opposition as well. So it's about more than this thing. It is also about the fact that there's something says being said about Caesar's wife. Caesar's wife should be above suspicion. So judiciary should be above suspicion, and this is something that I personally feel that it should have been a much more wider audience in terms of attendance rather than just two dignitaries. But at the same point of time, there's no harm till the point that it is a private religious matter. Then the next okay, there's another article that you need to read, which is what center can learn from states. Now what has happened is this, and this is a beautiful article, folks. This is a very good article. It's a very important article. Now and I really like Derek O'Brien. He really writes well. Now what has happened is, if you see, if you're coming from different states, all the states that you see are now having a DBT where you pay directly money to women in their accounts, and it is being said that 90% of the money that is received by women in their accounts are being used by their own will, and they don't have to take permission. So it gives women a lot of financial independence. So you can see about a number of these schemes. Now the article starts with, and all these stats you need to note. Make sure that you have taken note of all these stats, that India's labor force participation is 28%. For every 5 men in managerial position, there's only one woman. Then in terms of global gender gap, we are 127 on 126, and 3 out of 10 women in age group of 18 to 49 have experienced some kind of violence from their spouses. So you should note these, and when you are writing an answer, some of these stats can come up. And what you see is that the evidence of DBT shows that women empowerment has become extremely strong, and women have become extremely strong constituents in elections as well. Elections are being won or lost depending on how you are able to win the constituency and the agency of women voters. Now so because 50% of voting is has to happen from women, and number of governments have started their women centric DBT schemes. For example, you had the Jagana Amma Vodi, excuse me, and then you have a similar scheme by KTR. Then you had in Maharashtra, you had Congress's Mahalakshmi scheme, which was adapted from their own Karnataka Gruha Lakshmi scheme. At the same point of time, you had Maharashtra government now had introduced Ladli Bahin scheme, which talks about the same thing. Now all these other governments are also planning to have their own schemes with respect to women. So you have DBT schemes run in Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Punjab, West Bengal. So all of these have women-centric schemes where direct money is being given to women for some kind of this thing work or some kind of incentive. So and this is where the government of the day, the central government, needs to learn that even at the center level we should have some kind of scheme. There should not be only one scheme right now. We have a number of schemes, but at the same point of time the implementation of the women and child ministry in terms of DBT for performance is quite poor. And we are only targeting through there's no direct fiscal transfer to women right now, and we need to expand it apart from the Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, which gives support to pregnant and lactating women. So this is where the center needs to expand their DBT schemes. So then the next article is a health cover for elderly. This is what I was telling you, that everyone over 70 years will be covered under this, and the coverage will be basically rupees 5 lakh. And for poor families it will be basically a top up. For rich families it will not be a top up. For poor families it will be a top up, and almost 6 crore people will get it. And the issue is that so this is the register for eligibilities, those who are already covered, all of that is given. And then why this scheme matters is because the previous census was telling you that 8% of our population is still is anyways above the age of 50, and this is going to rise to 20% of our population by 2050. So we are going to have a huge number of people. We are going to have at least 300 million people who are going to be above 50, above 60 by 2050. And we have long the older that you are, the more likely that you will be hospitalized, the longer you will be hospitalized, and therefore the expenditure will also be more. So the elderly right now is not covered. In fact, just 20% of the population above 60 is currently covered under government employer or any kind of insurance scheme, and therefore we need some kind of measure there, and this is going to help in that aspect. So read about this. Then the other article, the adding yoga to your lifestyle change can cut diabetic risks. The best thing that you can do is just cut sugar from your life. And yes, some kind of yoga, some kind of meditation definitely helps. And you should, from right now you should practice it. Then the last article of the day, from Ashokan times to now Sanchi to Europe, the story of great stupa. So as I told you that the honorable foreign affairs minister, the external affairs minister is was there at Berlin, and there you had the eastern gate of Sanchi's great stupa. Now this is a replica of the stupa that is there in India. Now the history of Santi, this Sanchi Stupa, the great Stupa of Sanchi, is basically all the sacred relics of Lord Buddha and venerable saints are kept there. It's a hemispherical structure. You can just Google it up and you can see this. And basically these are burial mounds that are there. And the Sanchi Stupa basically was commissioned in the 3rd century BC by Ashoka, Emperor Ashoka, and this is the largest and the perhaps the best structure of Buddhist monuments that is there. And it is known for its for its gates and the kind of the kind of, these are also called toranas. So there are 4 toranas in 4 directions that are there. And they are these magnificent built toranas with very detailed architecture on them. So that is where they're very famous. And then you can read about Eastern Gate and its replica. And then it was basically discovered by Alexander Cunningham, who also founded by the Archaeological Survey of India, and also launched India's first excavation this thing survey at 1851. So read about this. And then I mean how this plaster of this plaster cast of the original was basically from London. It went to Berlin. So read about all of this. This is a good article which will deal with all of this. And with this you can also read the history and then the entire religion of Buddhism as well. So that's about it, folks. That's about it from my side, and we will now meet on probably on Tuesday, I will let you know whether I can have the session on Monday, depending on my work that is there. If my work is complete on Sunday, then I might keep it on Monday as well. And otherwise, what we can also do is we can probably on Monday, since I want to be free by 6:30 or 6:15, we can have on Monday, we can also have the class at the session at 5 a.m. So 5 to 6 I can be free, but 6:15 onwards I need to be ready for my session. So thank you very much. I will see you on either on Monday or on Tuesday. Thank you, folks. Bye bye.